All right, today we are diving into something truly groundbreaking, a study that's basically creating a brand new genetic map for autism. And trust me, this is a huge deal. It's helping us start to unravel one of the biggest, most complex puzzles in all of neuroscience.
So what is that puzzle? Well, it's this. Why can one single diagnosis, autism, look so incredibly different from one person to the next? It's a question that has had researchers, doctors, and of course families scratching their heads for decades. Okay, to really get why this is so tough, let's do a super quick recap. Autism spectrum disorder, or ASD, is generally defined by a couple of core things: challenges with social communication and interaction, and also those restricted or repetitive patterns of behavior. But the real key word here, the one that changes everything, is spectrum. That incredible variety, that huge range of traits, is exactly what makes it such a massive challenge to study.
And right there, that's the core scientific problem we're talking about. Look, we've known for a while now that autism has a really strong genetic basis. But actually connecting that gigantic, messy genetic puzzle to the equally complex ways it shows up in people, man, that has been like trying to solve a million-piece jigsaw puzzle in the dark with no picture on the box to guide you. It's been almost impossible.
But what if there was a totally new way to sort all those puzzle pieces? What if you could find the hidden patterns? Well, that is exactly what the researchers behind this study set out to do. So let's get into it and see how they cracked the code.
Okay, so the old way of doing things, the traditional approach, was what you'd call trait-centric. Scientists would pick one single symptom, like maybe repetitive behavior, and just study that in isolation. This new study, it completely flips that on its head. It takes a person-centered approach. Instead of one little piece, it looks at the entire combination of traits for each individual. It's about seeing the whole person, the whole picture.
And how they pulled this off is just fascinating. They used this incredibly powerful machine learning model. Think about it like this. Imagine someone dumps a massive, jumbled box of old photos in front of you and says, sort these into distinct family albums. But there are no labels on anything. The algorithm, the AI, has to figure out all the hidden connections and patterns completely on its own.
So their process was basically this three-step journey, taking them all the way from behavior to biology. Step 1, collect the data. They gathered a ton of data on observable traits, what scientists call phenotypes, from almost 5,400 autistic individuals. Step 2, find the patterns. They fed all that data into their machine learning model and let it find the hidden subgroups or classes. And then, step 3, the really crucial part, link it to the genetics. They analyzed the unique genetic profiles for each of those classes they'd found.
So the big question is, what did the machine actually find in all that data? Well, get ready, because this is the first huge discovery. The algorithm didn't find dozens of groups, or two. It revealed 4 clear, distinct, data-driven profiles of autism.
Yep, just 4. Out of all that incredibly complex data from thousands of different people, the model consistently landed on 4 distinct and really meaningful groups. This is a massive leap forward from just thinking about autism as one single continuous spectrum.
Okay, let's meet these groups. The first one, we'll call it Class 1, is characterized by what the study calls moderate challenges. Basically, these are individuals who generally have fewer difficulties across most categories when you compare them to other autistic people.
Then we have Class 2. This one is defined by social and behavioral challenges. So people in this group show pretty significant difficulties in areas like social communication and attention. But, and this is a really key distinction, they typically do not have those early developmental delays, like being late to walk or talk.
Next up is Class 3, which is called Mixed ASD with developmental delays, or DD for short. And just like the name says, this group has a really strong connection to those early developmental delays we just talked about. This often goes hand in hand with challenges in language and motor skills, too.
And finally, there's Class 4, the broadly affected group. For individuals in this profile, the data showed consistently higher levels of difficulty, more challenges across literally every single category the researchers measured.
So when you put it all together like this, you can really start to see the differences pop. Take a look at that row for developmental delay. See that? It's a huge factor for the mixed and broadly affected classes, but it's just not there for the other two. Finding clear separations like this, wow, that is a massive breakthrough.
All right, so we have 4 distinct profiles based on behavior. But what's going on under the hood? What's happening at the biological level?
It's time to decode their genetic blueprints.
And this leads us to a really fundamental genetic question. Are these differences we're seeing driven more by mutations that are inherited from parents, or are they driven by brand new mutations that just pop up for the very first time in an individual? Scientists have a name for these spontaneous changes. They call them de novo mutations.
And boom, here's our first major clue. When the researchers looked at the impact of those brand new de novo mutations, one group just lit up, the broadly affected class. They carry the highest burden of these mutations by a long shot. This suggests their profile is really strongly influenced by these spontaneous genetic changes.
But then the story completely flips when we look at the inherited mutations. Here, the strongest signal, again by far, comes from a different group, the Mixed ASD with DD class. This tells us there's a much stronger inherited component at play for this specific group.
Okay, so let's recap. We have different clinical profiles, we have different genetic profiles, but the researchers found one final, absolutely incredible clue that ties it all together. And it all comes down to one simple thing: timing.
Now, to understand this, we've got to think for a second about how the brain develops, right? It's not all at once. It happens in stages, from way back in fetal life all the way through childhood and into adulthood.
And here is the big aha moment. Remember that Mixed ASD with DD class? The one that was so strongly linked to inherited mutations? Well, get this. It turns out those specific genes are most active really early in brain development. We're talking before and just after birth. And that aligns perfectly with their clinical profile, right? The early developmental delays? It all clicks into place.
Now, in complete contrast, you have the social/behavioral class. The genes affected in that group are most active later in development, so postnatal. And again, think about it. This fits their clinical picture perfectly. No early developmental delays, and a diagnosis that typically comes later. It is an absolutely stunning connection between the genes, the timing, and the traits you see in a person.
So what does this all mean when you put it together? It means we can finally start to move past this idea of a single, uniform spectrum. What we have now is a new, much more detailed, much more meaningful map for autism.
And why does this new map matter so much? Well, because it takes us from this one-size-fits-all spectrum idea to distinct, biologically defined subgroups. It directly connects a person's clinical profile to their unique genetic signature and, so crucially, to the timing of their brain development. This could literally pave the way for more precise diagnostics, truly personalized support, and a much clearer roadmap for developing future therapies and interventions.
Ultimately, what this research gives us is an incredibly powerful new lens to look through, a new way to see and understand autism. And it leaves us with a really critical question to think about. How can we use this new map to help us all better navigate, understand, and support the entire diverse world of autism?